We're going to go ahead and get started here. Look at that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Blackmore Connects webinar brought by the Association for Private Equity. You can see the screen here. Let me give you a little bit of story. There are 4 divisions at Blackmore. The number one, first, the original division was started in 2005 by me and some other folks. It was started by an idea from one of my private equity clients, Tom Turpin of Allied Capital. We were doing work for Allied, and I had been contacted recently by a lot of my previous and current clients. Number one, the president of Metal Container, number 2 guy from Coca-Cola. They could all see my LinkedIn and all the PE firms. And they said, Gerald, you know so many private equity firms. I want to get introduced. Private equity is where to make all the money. And I thought, this is an interesting pattern. Yes, I know about 200 PE firms. So I took 6 of these guys, sent it out to 200. Their resumes or a paragraph on them, hoping that I could maybe make some referral money, right? Private equity needs executives, or so I thought. And so I did that. I got a total of 10 responses. 9 said, not interested unless the executives have a deal. That was telling to me. I went, interesting pattern. Maybe not what I thought, but kind of what I thought, because I had never had private equity firms that I was doing consulting for me saying, hey, do you know any execs for our portfolio companies? Never once happened in the previous 5 years. And we're talking 2005. And what then happened is Tom Turpin was the one person who said, out of the 10, let's meet with these guys. So he said, Gerald, schedule these 6 execs back to back. And I have a business idea that you can, instead of making $250 an hour, you can make $1 million per opportunity. And I was like, whoa. I thought maybe he's going to hire me as a partner. And that was certainly self-delusion. But what came about was Blackmore. And we had a pre-conference meeting. And during the pre-conference meeting, and by the way, just do a voice check. Can you hear me all right, for everybody? Anyone just double checking here? It sounds like it's good. How's my audio? Testing?
Sounds good, Gerald.
Okay, just thank you so much. Okay, so we had a pre-meeting, and here's what Tom said that got us started. He said, Gerald, I'm going to tell you something that I don't want to tell any one of these executives and execs like you what I'm saying here. But we don't need executives. He paused. And I got a little annoyed because we had 6, these were guys running Fortune 500 companies or recently had. And I'm under the belief that we're going to have a meeting to talk about maybe private equity deals they can work on. And so I said to Tom, what are you wasting my time? What are you wasting their time? He said, wait, hold on. Let me explain. There's an opportunity. What we need is execs with deals. He says, Gerald, you're a great executive at helping us do measurable, repeatable processes after we buy a company and do add-ons. I want you to do something similar. I want you to come up with a measurable, repeatable process for helping backable executives develop an acquisition-based deal thesis. An acquisition-based deal thesis, a deal thesis helps us see how they think. A deal thesis is entry to the game. So help them develop an acquisition-based deal thesis, help them monetize their network into deal opportunities. And when you have an owner who's interested in selling, you bring it to us and we'll help you get that owner on board, and we'll be cutting you checks. They could be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. There is no upper limit to what we can pay you. You can also roll money and have the back end. Lots of ways that you can go with us. Well, that's how Blackmore got started. We're here for executives like you. What we do is we consider ourselves a family office. We have a small bit of capital, and we get to put that to work because of you as an investor, pari passu. And we club with other private equity firms and family offices. And we've been doing that since 2005. And we have a process that takes 5 hours a week. Along the way, after our first deal took 2 years with the number 2 guy from Coca-Cola, Ron Hammond, we started a talent group because we needed more executives. We found that as we were going to raise money for the deals at ACG conferences, the PE firms would say, where do you find these executives with every deal? We have a hard time doing that, yet you have it already. Well, we have a talent group. And, well, can we use your talent group on a success fee basis only? And I thought for a moment, and I went, money. This is good. Cost center to profit center. And I said, yes. So that started our talent group becoming a resource to private equity, 200 searches a year of all different levels. Okay. And so that's how we got started there. And then from there, we started another opportunity, Blackmore Connects. Blackmore Connects, as you can see, is the Association for Private Equity. It's an educational and networking organization. Started in 2017. We're having our 41st conference coming up on the 22nd. They're all virtual. And for those of you who would like to be a guest, I would if you're watching this video, send an email to Gerald.O'Dwyer at Blackmore Partners, LLC.com. I'm sure it's easy to find at any time, and include your resume. And you got to be a P&L at least 50 million for you to be considered. And if I have budget money, what I do, set up a budget for each conference, 6 conferences a year. And then if you are a fit, the Blackmore Connects will debit the money, and you can be in the conference. There is a caveat: if I pay and you don't show, I need my money back, because it's non-refundable from Blackmore Connects to me. So we got to get it back some way. So that's the only caveats, but you have to apply for it. And then the fourth group is we do buy side. So that's a little bit about our 4 different business units. I'd love to work with you as a backable exec. Our talent group, if you go to Blackmore Partners Inc., you can get and upload your resume, and they can have it for the future. Blackmore Partners, my side, the original side, we're always looking for resources so that executives can mirror the private equity process. They can gain the skills, they can gain the mindset. And for going on, I don't know, it's 10 or 15 years, I have been introducing EvaluSys to the folks. We're going to go blank here, and we're going to bring on Tom Bixby. Tom, can you put on your camera? Okay.
There we go.
Great. Yeah, thanks for being here. So Tom is the developer, the originator, the founder of EvaluSys, which has been around 15 years. And in the private equity game, Tom, what I tell people is that you gotta be able to create your own. You got to be able to wait out private equity. Deal making falls apart. And one of the things we work with owners to do is build relationships with owners. We help them develop the list. But besides, offering money to buy them out, one of the things that executives can do and owners are interested in is how can you help them? And one of the challenges with a lot of executives is you don't have the toolkit to do that. And we want a toolkit that mirrors the private equity. When you go in and run a private equity company, they're going to ask you what your value creation strategy is. You have to unlock that value. You have to reclaim what's laying all over the floor of these privately held companies. And what I like about EvaluSys is a tool, an inexpensive tool that you can do to leverage opportunities for extra consulting work, to do just that mirrors the private equity language, the processes, the thinking of how to unlock value or reclaim value that is already there. Let's talk a little bit, Tom, about how you formed EvaluSys? I would like to get a little sense of that, please.
Sure. Thanks again for having me. I think it's been 11 years since I did my last presentation here.
Yeah.
But we've known each other for quite a long time. So I've been a management consultant, a business advisor for many years. I've been a CIO, CEO in my professional career, did M&A work in the banking sector, finance MBA, but very much a technology thinker. And when I started working with smaller mid-market companies in around the 2005 timeframe, and I created a consulting company for that purpose, started to understand that there were challenges. There just wasn't a whole lot of software available to help improve the process of delivering the kind of value creation services that I was looking to do. So in 2007, I put my technology beanie hat on and I spun that propeller and I started to build this company called EvaluSys. And it started off being a tool set of diagnostic products. It automated discovery. It basically took a lot of the cost and time out of learning where the challenges lie with companies that I was serving and companies that I were looking to serve. So that's how EvaluSys got started. And we launched in 2009, and we've been going ever since, serving the management consulting industry.
Okay, let's go ahead, and I'm going to do the screen sharing here in just a moment. Once again, as I'm setting that up and making Tom the presenter, I want to say to all of you, if you send me your resume and put in that you want to be considered for a guest slot at our virtual private equity conference, next one is February, is in April, but go to blackmoreconnects.com, you look at all the dates, so whenever you're listening to this webinar, you can find one that's relevant. But send me an email to gerald.o'dwyer@blackmorepартnersllc.com, and we'll do that. So let's, I'm going to make you presenter. Here we go. Watch for the...
Let's see.
There we go. I see it clearly.
We got what we're looking for there, Gerald?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, it's all yours, sir. And by the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as people ask questions, and I encourage you as you go through this to ask questions. And, you know, basically, Tom, isn't just something that everyone's going to want to know, how much is it? But basically, I think retail's $39 a month, right?
Yeah, $39 per advisor for the basic service package. And
yes.
What
so
most
it can start off at a very reasonable price is the main thing. So if you're wondering, gosh, is this some big expensive software? It really depends. But it starts there, and we're going to really show you the amazing power of this and how it can help all of you find opportunities, reclaim, even from the companies you want to buy or any kind of client that you have now. Go ahead.
Thanks, Gerald. So let me advance the slides here. So here's the agenda that I wanted to talk to. First, I wanted to frame it in terms of the challenges that Gerald outlined in his introductory remarks, and then I'll talk specifically about the solutions that EvaluSys brings to those challenges. And I'll do a brief demonstration kind of focused on the view that your clients would have when they're experiencing EvaluSys. Then we'll get into some Q&A. If there's questions that Gerald has fielded for us, we'll answer those. We'll talk about next steps. And there's also an opportunity for a special offer for those of you that are on this webinar today. And I'll be talking about that as we wrap up at next steps. So some of the C-suite partner challenges that we've identified. You know, how do you connect with the business owners with a valued educational opportunity? How do you get their attention? How do you bring them in and give yourself an opportunity to engage them in a meaningful way, in a strategic way that'll give you some opportunity to look at them as a prospective acquiring company, and be able to sustain that relationship until the time comes when they're ready to sell. And the last part is, how do you identify those opportunities to improve the management practices and the processes and discover the value drivers that will help them grow the transferable value of the business? So let's dig into that kind of one point at a time. So let's start with that: connect with business owners with a valued educational opportunity. So one of the things that I've done throughout my consulting career is I've used these tools to be able to help these business owners understand where are their gaps in their management practices or processes that impact their performance. And most times, those impacts will also have a bearing on the value of the company, either from a suppressing top-line revenue or increased expense, or risk is a huge area of concern for businesses as they're looking to sell. So we also want to help them to develop a level of focus around those issues and make them actionable, make sure that they're acting on those challenges and addressing them in a way that helps to boost the value of their company. And of course, technology has always been known for its ability to make things more efficient, and that's what EvaluSys has always striven to be, is a tool set that helps management consultants and business advisors be much more effective in the way that they deliver services, they discover opportunities to create value for their clients, and create engagement that lasts. So let's, I want you to understand, and I'll show you in the demonstration, that a lot of these tools can be offered as a one-on-one type of engagement, but also they can be offered on a group level with webinars, workshops, so that way you can get in front of a larger group of business owners and try to get some scale to identify where are the businesses that I can help, what are the better businesses that are good candidates for the Blackmore program, and instead of just going one-on-one. So the next point is, how do you engage the company in a meaningful and sustainable way? And here's a few points to talk about that. So these diagnostic tools that we've been using consistently since 2009 and growing upon since then, they're excellent in getting a business owner to think strategically about their company, to get out of the day-to-day firefighting and think longer term. Where are they heading with this business? What are the things that can really drive value growth over the long term?
Hey, Tom, I'm getting a question, and I think it's a good one to evaluate. How would you categorize the EvaluSys solution? As an M&A pipeline software, virtual data room, diligence, and project management software, or other? I would say, first of all, it's a consulting software to find value creation opportunities inside a company. That's number one. The rest to you, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts by using a collection of diagnostic products, each evaluation covering things like sales, marketing, executive leadership, strategic planning, financial control, human resources, management, supervision, supply chain, and logistics. So all of those business functions are analyzed using a question and answer process, and each of the tools comes back with a collection of recommendations based upon the inputs that have been provided. So each of those issues that are recognized will likely be, well, there'll always be opportunities to grow the performance of the business, but in many cases, there'll be significant drivers of value creation in the business. Did I answer the question well enough? What do you think?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's continue on then. So these are tools to encourage strategic thinking and also strategic planning. And with many businesses, planning is not a strong suit. And so having a structure, having a discipline, a way to create a model for establishing a long-term plan to grow value is where EvaluSys shines. Processes to motivate action, and one of the things that we'll touch on and show you as part of the demonstration is it's great to identify opportunities to grow value, but if they don't act on that, they're not creating any value. So they have to not only recognize the opportunities to grow value, they need to act on that and complete those changes in the business successfully in order to be able to have that value increase in the future. So how do you help them improve management practices and discover those building blocks of enterprise value? And this is where we start with the value drivers assessments, the collection of tools that I described to you, and I'll show you in one of the next slides. We call it the Business Wellness Diagnostic Series. So we'll use those to discover the value drivers, and then we're going to use something we call value growth architecture. And those tools are relatively new in the EvaluSys platform over the last several years. Helps you to define the action value. How will each change that you're proposing a client make increase the value of their business, either by driving EBITDA or by mitigating risk and improving the quality of earnings and increasing the multiple? And what is the investment required? What's the budget that they're going to need to set aside in order to be able to make these changes in the company? So this is where you can establish return on investment for these changes. And this is where motivating action comes into play, because I found over the years that unless you can create a financial rationale for them writing a check to make these changes in their business, they're going to procrastinate. They're just not going to do it. So this is why I built value growth architectures, to create those foundational metrics that help to establish what is the value return on investment, what is the cash return on investment, what is the earnings return on investment, and ultimately, what is the value return on investment of making these changes in their company. So you'll use these tools to establish a budget to implement these changes, prioritize those actions in a rational way using a collection of metrics that we'll develop through value growth architecture. Then identify the action plan over the next 2, 3, 5 years to grow that value and plan the execution of that value growth. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get to the demonstration. Any other questions coming up, Gerald? If not, I'll just continue on. So here are the solutions that we have.
Nope, nothing. I'm looking. Nothing.
All right,
I'll ping you. I'll say something as they come up.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So the tools and solutions that we bring to solve those problems, first and foremost, the Business Wellness Diagnostic Series. And then there's an introductory assessment, which we'll show you, which is the Business Wellness Checkup, which is an awesome tool that's used extensively by EvaluSys members. We've got an exit planning evaluation, which can be a wake-up call to businesses. And that exit planning evaluation, I'll show you, was created partially by the founder of the Exit Planning Institute. So
yeah, this is a great, what I like about the exit planning evaluation, it's a great way in and taking a look at, are you ready to exit this company? If not, what do you got to do? And executives, you can help these owners, do that. And then the other thing, like Perry, I'm answering your question. These tools, question answers, require owners to open and provide transparency. Yeah, you do. You got to be a trusted advisor, folks. So that's part of what you need to do anyway, as part of the engaging an owner to sell part of the company, is become a trusted advisor. We can't answer how do you do that. That's a big question. That's part of your skill that is expected. Back to you.
Thanks, Gerald. So we've got that exit planning evaluation, and you can use the Business Wellness Checkup and the exit planning evaluation to do workshops. And there's tools that I'll show you that make it very easy for you to be able to kind of scale your influence over business owners that you can connect with. We have something called goal impact analysis, which is it's a very easy way for business owners to sort of internalize what are the issues that were revealed by these diagnostics that they spent some time working on, and how will those issues potentially impact one or more of their key strategic goals for their business. So that's what goal impact analysis is, and value growth architecture is the biggest and most recent addition to our platform. These are the tools that provide a very finance forward strategic planning process. So, sorry, my watch was ringing. Apologize for that. So let's move forward here. Business Wellness Diagnostic Series. Here are the topics that it covers: business planning, executive leadership, financial planning and control, human resources, business operations, quality. You can see all those items, and I think you should gather from this, it's a very broad-based foundation of management discipline within a firm. So each of these have been developed over the last 12 years. The most recent was the supply chain and logistics evaluation that was just released in December. So they reveal gaps in management practices and process, and will be articulating, here are the changes that are proposed, here are the impacts they're having on your business, here are the benefits that would accrue from taking action to address these problems. Talked about a business wellness checkup. I talk to it like it's a triage process. It touches on each of those business wellness diagnostic series functions, asks just a handful of questions in each area, tries to answer the questions, which functions appear like there's reason to dig deeper and look more carefully to find those nuggets of value creation. So those are the tools that are very commonly used for workshops. I call them business wellness workshops. And one of the particular benefits of this business wellness checkup is there's no per use licensing for this tool. So a lot of our members will put this checkup on their website, use it for email marketing, again, use it for workshops or webinars. It's a great tool that everyone loves. So, but ultimately it helps to engage and educate business owners. It's a great way to create that lasting relationship. It's a great starting point. Talked about the exit planning evaluation, and I know Gerald knows Peter Chrisman, one of the co-founders of the Exit Planning Institute. And if you don't know Exit Planning Institute, they're one of the organizations that is a certifying body for exit planners. They have the SEPA exit planning certification. But what we did back in 2012 is we got Peter together along with a wealth manager, an M&A attorney, and an investment banker, and said, help me understand what are the key factors that drive readiness for a business. And they came up with 31 factors that we built into this assessment. It's about half and half, separated between personal side of readiness, which is a big factor in helping business owners be ready for transitioning ownership of their company. And the other piece is business value drivers. What are the changes in the business that can really help improve the value of the company? And again, each of these evaluations take about 15 minutes to be able to complete, 15 to 20 minutes. And in this case, it's going to be a wake-up call to help the client understand how not ready perhaps they are for a transition of ownership for an exit for their business. That's where you step in to help them solve that and do a more in-depth planning process and use all of our tools to be able to identify those areas of weakness and identify action plans to grow value for their company. Talked about workshops very briefly. evaluations are great tools to make workshops relevant. In this model, what we do is we have our participants for a workshop take an evaluation in advance of the program. And so a couple days before the program launches, you have a tremendous amount of data about what are the areas that these companies are weak and where are the commonalities of weakness across all the participants in the program. That way you can develop your agenda for your workshop, perhaps bring in specialists that can talk to the specific challenges that these businesses have. And that's kind of the model that we used with, that I've used personally in the consulting capacity when doing a business wellness workshop. I use these evaluations to identify what are the challenges that these businesses are facing. And then we come together and we focus attention on the issues that are relevant and most common to all of our participants. So it's actually a great model. And it's really good because this is a technology-based platform. It's good whether you're in person or whether you're doing this virtually via Zoom or Teams or WebEx. Workshops are a tremendous value. Goal impact analysis, again, this is a tool that's designed to make the issues come alive that come out of the assessment, because it requires the business owners to articulate their top goals. And then as issues are revealed through our diagnostics, it requires them to think carefully about to what degree would this issue have an impact on me achieving the goal or one of those strategic goals, either from no impact to devastating impact. And that process winds up creating a scoring around these issues that will help to prioritize action against all the issues that were identified. This is a easier and less complex method of motivating action and developing a prioritization for action, easier than value growth architecture, which is the next one we'll talk about. This is a very finance forward discipline. It asks not only once you identify a value driver for the business, a change that could improve value, it requires you and the team that works on this to establish how exactly will this change manipulate the financial metrics of the business that will drive value. So how will it improve EBITDA? How will it improve the predictability of future cash flow out of this company? It can be used in a strategic planning or exit planning context, but naturally Blackmore Partners would think about this more in terms of planning for a successful transition for this business.
Yeah, and that's a really great thing. As you all are listening to what Tom is talking about, is part of what you can offer owners. Hey, they might say, well, I'm not ready to sell. Good. Well, let's go through thinking through what you're going to have to do to be ready, because when you're ready, it may still take you 2 or 3 years longer because you didn't get ready. You got to be ready to be ready. It's like all of the folks who I talk to that want to get in private equity. They wake up one day, Tom, and they said, well, I'll get back to you, Gerald, when I want to get into private equity. It's not like you wake up and get into it. There are things that you have to do to prepare and to be credible. And so executives that are listening to this, this is a great conversation starter about saying, hey, are you, I want to put money into your company with myself and my partners, but are you really ready? And you can do an assessment with them as a teaser. And once again, the more you use this tool, it's preparing for what you're going to be doing with this company and other companies in the private equity world. It's getting you into the private equity language and in a different way. It's sharpening. If you're in transition and you haven't been running a company for a while, it's sharpening you for that. So it really, as the more you use it and more completely, the more you sharpen your brain for action. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Gerald. You're absolutely right. There was talk about what does it cost, and there's very transparently presented details on our website at EvaluSys.com. But in a general sense, the pricing model is designed to keep your fixed costs low. We talked about a $39 a month fee. If you're getting into value growth architecture, that's $99. Still not a huge investment. If you're working with a company to help grow value, that's an insignificant amount of money. But there's other costs, particularly in a value growth architecture setting, because you're having a team typically converging on this strategic planning process, and there's a per seat cost associated with that. But in a general sense, the cost of EvaluSys rise and lower based upon your level of usage. So if you're not
and
using
let me mention to the people, Tom, the one way to look at it is there's the base usage, getting access to some of the basic material, and then once you have an engagement, right? You know the cost, your variable cost goes up, but you bake it in to your offering. Okay, you don't pay for it unless you're using it. Would that be right, Tom?
Exactly. That's precisely it. So we're keeping the variable costs low in order to be able to align it with the level of engagement you're having with your clients. So with that, I just want to do a time check, Gerald. How much time do we have available?
About 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We're right on schedule then. So what I'm going to do is a brief demonstration. And I've been doing this for a long, long time, but I'm actually getting better at it as I go along. I'm learning to be less of a trainer on how EvaluSys works and more about how do clients experience it. And so that's what you're going to see here today is a little bit about, I'm going to be logging on as a demonstration client to be able to show you some of the capabilities of EvaluSys. And if it matters to you, by the way, EvaluSys is completely brandable. If you have a consulting company that you start up and you want to use your own branding for it, it's no extra cost to be able to insert your own graphics. So let's start by looking at the Business Wellness Diagnostic Series. And actually, this happens to be a demo client that has value growth architecture, and you're kind of getting a sneak peek at some of this material. But I'm going to go down to the evaluations here at the bottom. And this is where your engagement with them typically starts, using each of these assessments to identify where are the gaps in management process that could wind up generating additional value if they were improved. So maybe we'll look at sales, for example. Here's a list of the recommendations that were produced by the system, and we'll just click on the first one here. This is very common to all of the recommendations coming out of the assessment. It talks about what is the change that's being recommended, how will it impact the business, what are the implications to the company. In this case, it's talking about long-term and short-term implications, and what are some of the benefits of acting on this. So that's the way that our diagnostic tools present information back. And you have a number, as the advisor, you have a number of different ways to allow the client to interact with this. You can choose to give them the details behind this, or you can choose to reserve those and hold those in your back pocket and then just produce reports of the issues you want them to focus on. Because I'll be honest with you, if they go through all our evaluations, you're going to have probably in the realm of 70 to 90 recommendations across sales and marketing and operations and finance and leadership and business planning and supply chain. So it may be a great strategy, and most of our advisors wind up going through the assessment results themselves and selecting key items out of that information to present as action items for the client. So Oh, I did want to show you the business wellness checkup in particular. So let's look what that looks like. So this is the business wellness checkup. Again, you think of it like a triage for each of the functional areas of the business that they've gone through in this assessment. Again, this is a 15-minute investment of time by the business, touches on each of these areas and shows the degree to which there's indications of weakness that would justify a deeper examination using some of the other business wellness diagnostic series assessments. So each of our recommendations are couched in that way. Basically, they're talking about further examine your use of executive leadership behaviors, examine your readiness to exit your business, examine your marketing management processes and methods. So that's what this tool is. And again, you can produce a report from any of these assessments that you can share offline with the client as well. So let's look at the exit planning evaluation to give you a sense of the kind of content that's there. Remember, I mentioned that our assessment is kind of split half and half between the personal side of exit readiness and the business side of exit readiness. And both of those are extremely important to the exit success of that business owner. A lot of times, the whole psychological aspect of turning over the keys to a company that they've been working with and developing for 35 or 40 years, that can be paralyzing to a business owner. So taking some actions to help them think about what they're going to be doing after they leave their business and get them to be retiring to something rather than retiring from a business. So again, each of these particular recommendations are worded much like the others. What is a description of the action? What are the implications of this particular issue and the benefits that accrue to it? So moving forward, let's look at the workshop's capability. And I'm going to log out of this client login. I'm going to log in as an advisor. So this is the advisor dashboard, and let's jump into workshops and I can show you what that looks like. So again, this tool set allows you to streamline the process of using these diagnostic tools in a group setting. One of the best things that this does, not only does it make it easy to be able to assign evaluations for the group to use, but it also gives you a centralized place to look for what are the common issues. You can look at, this is using the goal impact analysis, and I'll log on as this Mark Gill character right after I touch on this, but you can look at the goal impact summary here and be able to see across everyone in the workshop what are the most impactful issues that were revealed by the assessments that the group took. I've always thought that this would be an awesome tool for Vistage chairs to be able to use to understand where the common challenges across a Vistage group or an EO group or any executive peer group like that. And in each case, it will show you a prioritized list, and you can click in to see, well, this is something that Karen Palmer and Mark Gill both have identified as being substantial impacts to their most important goal. And in this case, their third importance goal, because these are prioritized goals by way of importance. So this is what the workshop capability does. Again, you can produce reports. You can look at it on an individual basis as well. So we'll see Mark Gill here. He's got 39 impacts that have been identified thus far and how each of them has been rated in terms of the impact to one or more of their goals. So having gone through this, let's log in as Mark Gill so you can see what it looks like from his perspective. So on Mark's dashboard, you've got the list of assigned evaluations, and that will change as you're administering the workshops. But you've got a program summary here that says, for him, here are the top 10 list of the issues that have been identified thus far and what their goal impact scores are, and a general chart that identifies on between goal 1 and goal 4 which ones have the most significant impact and what degree those issues are impacting this goal. This chart down here shows the functional distribution, whether leadership, human resources, marketing, sales, innovation. Those are the 5 assessments that the workshop has completed thus far. Let's show you how they actually go through the process of assessing the impact to their goals. Talked about identifying their goals, and we just asked them to in a very narrative case, identify their top 3 to 5 goals. And we have this little sidebar that talks about the whole concept of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. It's important to many times coach the clients on good goal setting. Once we have those, again, they're going through the assessment process, and the assessments will look at sales again. So here are the issues that were revealed by the sales evaluation for Mark Gill. And as Mark goes through this process, we're asking him to say, to what degree will this particular issue impact each of these 4 goals, from none to devastating? And simply what this is doing is asking Mark to think carefully about, to what degree will this problem that's identified get in the way of the things that are most important to me? And that creates a total goal impact score for this particular issue that is used to prioritize action. So that's what goal impact analysis is. And you can look at it by problem, which this is showing, or you can also look at it by goal. So say, I want to achieve enterprise value of $30 million by 2024 December. So here are the issues in sales, and how will those impact my ability to achieve that enterprise value? Again, we're trying to just make sure these are actionable by the client. And goal impact analysis does a pretty good job of doing that. So let's go back to Mark Franklin, the first gentleman I had shown, and talk about value growth architecture. So again, this is the dashboard for Mark for value growth architecture. It's very high level, based upon the work that's been done in creating this strategic plan for value growth, taking his company from $7.9 million in value to $31 million in 3 years, or $38 million in 5 years. The budget required is $257,000 over a 5-year spending horizon. There's 12 critical actions involved that are going to increase cash flow and reduce risk, generating a 3.5x increase in the transaction multiple. So this particular demo client is already, the plan's in action. So you can see here are the actions that are in process. What are the start and end dates, and the value that's created? Who is the person that's in charge of addressing that challenge in the business? And you can see the high level here. What is the in-process actions are generating $9.5 million in value. 4 have been completed. We've already created $15 million in value. And here is a value growth trajectory for the business. So at any point over the next 5 years, you can see how the completion of each of these actions will find its way to improving the value of the company. So this is what value growth architecture looks like. And if you look on a action by action basis, there is a dashboard for each of the changes that are being proposed. So you can see how will it contribute to value over 3 years, over 5 years, this particular change. How will this change affect net cash? How will this change affect earnings growth? How will the mitigation of risk that this presents improve the quality of earnings and drive up the multiple that a buyer would pay for the business? You can see a quick summary here in this sidebar that shows on a 3-year basis and a 5-year basis what is the financial impact and the return on investment for each of those. So in this case, this change, a $20,000 investment, will produce $2.9 million in value growth over 5 years, after 5 years, I should say. So as I mentioned, this is a very finance-forward strategic planning process that will keep you engaged with this business over a multiple year basis to help them not only plan for the value growth of their company, but also help them execute those plans and actually create the value through execution. And I think that's all the demonstration that I thought I would do. Let's get back to our presentation here. Okay. So do we have any questions that have come up? Any questions about what you've seen?
Nothing. Just keep going. I've got to take care of something, so I'll clue you in momentarily.
All right. So let's talk about next steps then. Next steps, I'd like to invite you to go to EvaluSys.com and find out a little bit of information about EvaluSys and register for a free 15-day trial. It's that basic advisor membership that gives you access to take the business wellness checkup, use that with clients. And we have a special offer for those of you that are on this call. If you've registered to be a part of this program today, and you're going to be credited with a 20% off of all of your EvaluSys fees over the next 12 months. So EvaluSys doesn't cost a whole lot, but 20% off will be a special offer that goes just to those of you who are participating in this workshop today. You can request what we call a client trial, which what that does is gives you the ability to access EvaluSys like a client would and take any or all of our evaluations to just understand what are the questions that are asked, what are the recommendations look like that come out of our sales, our marketing, our financial control modules. So I would encourage you to request that trial. And third, we're developing a YouTube channel. There's not a whole lot of content out there yet, but I'm going to be having a business advisor interview series that I'm going to launch next week. And with each of our members, I'm giving them an opportunity to talk a little bit about what they do and how they impact the lives of their clients, and talk about how the software within EvaluSys plays a significant role on their ability to create value for their clients and create value in their own business. Last, I'd invite you all to
a few questions, Tom.
All right.
And then I have to take a call from a banker here.
Okay.
Tom, looks great tool. How long does it take to get through the entire business assessment is one. Another one says something about Vistage. Another one is see any evolution. I see the scorecard. There are many specific suggestions. Let's see, are there any specific suggestions at each step of the steps in the assessment? I'll leave it to you. I'm getting called by my bank here.
Okay. I'll start for the last question. Yeah, all of our evaluations have specific recommendations. Now, those recommendations could be at a high level, like, for example, our marketing assessment. One of the common recommendations is that you need to create a strategic marketing plan for the company. It won't tell them how to do it. It won't solve the question about what specific marketing strategies would be particularly successful for them to implement. But it says, you know, you're spending a lot of money on marketing. You don't really have any direction in terms of how you're spending that. You really don't know which spending in marketing is producing a return. So you should do a strategic marketing plan. So that's the nature of the recommendations that come out of there. How long does it take? Each of our diagnostics is designed around a rule of 15 to 20 minutes. So if they take all of our assessments, it'll add up to be between 4 and 5 hours of work. Now, the key there is you're not wanting them to take and block off a half a day and try to knock these out, because the first couple will be pretty well done. The last few will get deteriorating quality of their thought through answering their questions. So garbage in, garbage out. We usually invite them to assign a couple of evaluations a week. That's what I always used to do with my clients. So it'll take a few weeks to go through the process, but you're not taxing these business owners. You're not asking them to spend more time than they can reasonably devote to do it. And because it's online, you don't have to be sitting in their office necessarily while they're answering these questions. They can answer it when they've got their coffee and slippers on in the morning or in the evenings or whenever's convenient to them. Okay. Try to remember what was that last question?
Well, we're going to have to stop there. We're in the last few minutes.
Okay.
The main point, folks, is there's an opportunity to register for a free trial. I don't know where the codes are, but for basic advisory, do it. You know, you got to have options. As folks, if those of you who are attending the conferences, I talk about optionality. And the more options you have, the more, you know, as Talib would call it, less fragility, anti-fragile, options to create value. And private equity is all about value creation faster and faster. You cannot do things slowly in private equity. It's about speed with accuracy. Well, how do you get the speed? Is by training. And as you train more, you get better accuracy, right? You can't get accuracy without training by doing. Like flying a plane, as I've shared with some of you, I fly airplanes. I love it. And then if I'm not out every weekend, my accuracy at landing is off base. I love perfect landings, that point where it's just soft as a pillow. You know, you're just gliding down. You know, it's a level of finesse. And in private equity, they want finesse. You can't wing it. And you can only know by practicing. Get the software. For those of you who want to be a guest at our conferences, send me an email with that in the message, plus your resume, and we'll see what we can do if you're the right fit. But it's not for everyone. Private equity is a whole different, it's like getting the NFL, folks. Maybe even a little harder in some cases. Depends on how you look at it. Tom, thanks so much. Look forward to another one. We got to do these more regularly, and we just keep getting better.
Thank you so much, Gerald.